I want to preface this video by saying this is for people who are single, who constantly feel compelled to find someone, not necessarily to find love, but because of the pressure. Now, I'm not trying to overgeneralize, and also I don't want to act like I know everything. These are my opinions, not facts. But in this video, I want to show that finding someone isn't always the answer. On YouTube, there's always these speed dating channels or these videos of exes where they drink with each other, or there's going to be engagement videos, marriage videos, that's all over the trending page, it gets recommended to you, it's everywhere. On social media, everyone is flaunting their new relationship, engagement, wedding, and by looking at their carefully curated Instagram page of those perfect candid moments of their perfect happy relationship, we can lose sight of what having and maintaining a relationship actually looks like. What are they not showing? Literally everything else, whether it be from those stupid little fights over whose turn it is to get groceries, to complaining about your in-laws, to stressing over how you're going to pay the mortgage after spending way too much on the wedding.
Don't touch me right now. Like, not right now, but I'm just
I thought you were being serious.
No, just in general.
I remember calling my parents when we decided to get married, and I said, this is the time I need you to stop me from doing something crazy.
Baby, I wasn't trying!
I beat you, accept it!
In TV shows, especially the ones that have so much episodes it's hard to keep track of, the cast of characters will all end up dating each other at some point as a part of the plot. It's always the happy ending in TV shows, movies, books. The main character and many of the other cast will find the one by the end. Honestly, I feel like it's a cheap way to write an ending. It feels lazy and played out to me. The way films romanticize relationships make us fall in love with the idea of love, not the reality. A lot of writers will create characters with little to no flaws, showing an unrealistic relationship birthed out of a fantasy. Especially movies where the entire plot revolves around them getting together. Like, when have you ever seen an asexual character? It's so rare. When celebrities get together, it's everywhere. When you're just exhausted from work, just trying to come home, trying to Google some pirated shit, you're always going to come across these pop-up articles of all these celebrity relationships you don't care about. Dating shows are on every streaming service. Dating apps are everywhere. The people who make these ads specialize in marketing and will do whatever they can to get your attention. Specifically designing these ads to make us buy more, because it's how they make their money. And yes, of course, I know there's always going to be media about romantic relationships because it's naturally going to reflect real life, but this shit is beyond excessive. Like, don't we have other stuff going on in our lives? I'll just be shopping for makeup, looking at the lipsticks, and honey, first kiss, compatible, quick crush, wifey, other half, my boo. This shit is shoved down your throat wherever you go. I mean, American culture is hard pressed on relationships. I mean, after all, it is profitable. We've been fed to believe that finding someone is the best thing that will ever happen in our lives. Therefore, we'll overvalue finding relationships, making it more painful when it doesn't work out. You're made to feel as though nothing else matters. No wonder we can't fucking get over them. As people, we constantly look over at other people's lives wondering, why don't I have that? Should I be doing that? What am I doing wrong? Personally, I'll break my fucking neck looking over at other people's lives. And shocker, it only makes me feel worse, because I'm only seeing what they're willing to show. A study on the psychology of music determined about 67% of lyrics in every song every decade since the 60s were somehow about love. There are so many artists who have revolved almost their entire career around songs about relationships. I don't blame them. I believe that they're conditioned just like the rest of us, and these songs sell because they're relatable, but they can be damaging. There's countless songs out there about their partner being the only source of light in their life, and then when they leave, it's like you have nothing left because you put everything into that one person. For example, Misery Business, which is a song that I grew up with. It's all about her self-worth being wrapped up into whether he wants her or not. I'd say most 50s music are all about love, Christmas music. Really, Alicia, you'd rather be homeless than single? You know, I don't think all songs about relationships are inherently bad. There is a place for these songs, and they've definitely helped me. I just feel like the market is pretty oversaturated with these types of songs, and it can turn toxic. There's this constant pressure to be in a relationship. If we're single, we might start to see being alone as some sort of inadequacy. So of course you may feel a need to find someone. When you're insecure, a relationship can give you that temporary validation. It's like, see, someone wants me, there's proof I have value. If we lack security, hope, validation within ourselves, we typically look for it in others to fill that void. Depending on someone, especially your partner, is dangerous. Your self-worth can get wrapped up in their approval, their attention, which causes us to value finding a relationship above anything else in our life. I want you to know that I made this video to prove to myself that I'm not crazy. Honestly, I need to hear this shit too. I say all this from experience. It's ingrained into your brain since birth. We're programmed for this shit, especially as women. We are raised to believe that our purpose is to start a family, to serve others. As long as there have been people on the earth, we've been conditioned to believe that all we are is in relation to someone else. Not a singular person with thoughts and feelings, but a mother, a wife, a daughter. People may not say this to us directly, but it's in how we're treated, how we're spoken to. It's all over the media that makes us think that this is our role in life, to serve others and not ourselves.
That is what I say to my girls. Do him good all the days of his life. And so that encompasses many things for a wife.
What's most difficult to resist is the panic people have put on us. Not only is it stressed on us to find someone, but we get this extra pressure to find someone and to start a family as soon as possible. They put a time limit on this shit. Your biological clock is ticking. How are we ever supposed to do well under these conditions? We are acting out of fear. Getting over people is hard when we can't stop thinking about even the most forgettable person. We end up constantly in search of a relationship because that's how we think we'll find happiness or a way to end the pain. When we can't deal with the feeling of thinking about them, we find someone else. But moving on from one relationship to the other is not actually moving on. That's when our previous relationship will bleed its ink onto the other page if there's not enough time in between. What you're looking for in others is truly only what you can find within yourself. So don't feel bad that it's been months and months and you still can't get over them. We are conditioned to believe that we are nothing on our own since birth. Society can make you feel like if you're broken, finding love is the answer. Like how they call it your other half, like you're not complete without them. Some of us subconsciously hope that we can find someone to fix us. If we're already damaged, we're more likely to unintentionally hurt others. When trauma isn't dealt with, it tends to sabotage relationships. If we're bored, we might seek a relationship to have excitement in our lives until we're not ready for the commitment. Then it's on to another fling until it gets too serious. Or it can give you a distraction from what you don't want to deal with in your life.
Where do you live?
In the city.
Do you have a house?
Apartment.
On a rent?
Rent.
What do you do for a living?
Lots of things.
I am literally Tina. It's so funny how we build it up in our head so much, but in reality it's like not that great. People will often confuse infatuation with love, leading them to be more attached. You know what? Princess Bubblegum said it so well.
I love you so much it hurts. The pain,
What you're feeling is called infatuation.
The pain is a product of you overvaluing a projected imaginary relationship with me.
As I mentioned before, having low self-esteem makes us predisposed to seek validation in others, but this tends to naturally push people away. Starting a relationship based on this is like locking yourself in a cage and letting your spouse be in control of the key. It makes you susceptible to finding and staying in toxic relationships because that's all you think you have, which is why it's so important to be okay with being by yourself. Dysfunctional relationships can bring out the worst in us, making your life more stressful and upsetting and can take over your life. Before I talk about this, I want to say that yes, I do in fact believe in love. I think it's great when two people are happily in a committed relationship. There's a lot of good in finding love. However, I don't think we should be all consumed in finding someone to complete our life. As I mentioned before, when we see how romanticized relationships are, we forget what the reality of being in a relationship actually is. Dating in the beginning will always feel free and fun, but maintaining that connection is what takes work. Even in a healthy relationship, the reality is that it takes work to make something work. It's a lot of discussions and compromises that a lot of us, including me, aren't ready for. And it's a project. Both people in the relationship have to be willing to change and grow, and sometimes you don't have anything to give, and that's okay. It's funny how even in the modern society, you might feel like a loser after your grandma tells you she's shocked you're still alone, but in reality, you're finally getting your life together, discovering yourself, not being tied down. Then she could turn her head and look at your brother in a relationship with kids like, why don't you settle down like your brother and start a family? But in reality, your brother could be in an abusive relationship, feeling like he can't leave after having a kid, staying together to keep the house too. Sometimes you don't realize your foundation is weak until you get into a serious relationship.
Saying, quote, part of why I started drinking was because I was trapped. Ben says that his and Jennifer's 2017 divorce was a long time coming, but they stayed together as long as they did for the sake of their children. The actor explains, I was like, I can't leave because of my kids, but I'm not happy. What do I do?
Based on my experience, I realized you can only save yourself, no one else. That's not being selfish. You'll drag yourself down with them if you try. It's not your job to make them feel okay. Sometimes in relationships, we can lose sight of who we are and what we stand for. It's so ingrained in our culture we forget that it's just as healthy to have time to be alone, independent, and to have authority over your own life. We might be afraid to do life alone, but in reality, we're not alone. We have family, friends, community. Being single gives you that chance to have so much more time to see them. Relationships can consume and take up so many hours of your life. Who knows how much of our time we spend just thinking about relationships? You can use your energy for literally anything else. Use the time while you're single that would have otherwise been spent on figuring out relationship problems to improving yourself, doing stuff that will progress you forward, and rediscovering yourself. It's a nice break from heartache. Of course, I believe in love, but the only relationship we're going to have for the rest of our lives is with ourselves. And I feel like that's very undervalued in society. The reality is that we don't need anyone. We might believe that we're dependent on others based on how we were raised, but we are capable of change. In order for us to be happy, we need to believe that we don't have to rely on others for happiness. Okay, if you're still feeling the need to be in a relationship, because you've been conditioned to do so, I don't blame you. Think about this. Relationships are like building a house. It's going to fall apart if the foundation isn't properly built. Meaning you have to be happy with being alone first.